Okay, so Insert Frame is a team of 8 people. Now, honestly, the secret to our growth is having a really great team behind us. So in this video, I thought I'd share some of the lessons I've learned about building a Framer-led team and some of the roles we've hired for and what's worked and what hasn't. So firstly, in terms of kind of how we operate in terms of a structure, we've actually kind of split our team up. Now, we're still a small team, so there's a lot of cross collaboration, but really when we look at it, there's 3 sort of main pillars within our team. We've got a run team, a storytelling team, and a product team. Now, the run team is responsible for daily operations and customer support. So, dealing with customer inquiries, making sure essentially everything gets done and keeping everything afloat. The storytelling team is responsible for our content and marketing. So how do we actually reach new people with the stories we want to tell, aka our products and content? And then lastly is our product team, which is responsible for maintaining our product library. So these are our developers, these are the designers who are actually working actively on our products. Now, if I was going to add another team here, and if we were meant to do service work, I would build out a specific service team, people who are Framer experts and designers who can service clients. But since we're very product-led, this is the structure we tend to use. Now, if we actually look at our team, I'll give you a quick rundown of everyone who's in it and kind of what their role is. So firstly, there's me. I kind of play the role of CEO. We don't really enforce that as a title. It's mostly just founder, but essentially my role is CEO. I'm here to lead the vision. I'm going to make sure we get stuff done, and I'm setting the direction for the company, and that kind of funnels down. Next is Georgia, who's our head of operations, who's full-time with us, and her responsibility is to basically do everything that I don't, which is basically keeping everything alive. You'll probably chat to Georgia if you're heading up customer support. Basically any project on an operations level or project management level is normally led by her. It's kind of her responsibility to kind of oversee the day-to-day as well, where I guess my role as a CEO is to focus on bigger picture stuff and making growth happen, and then Georgia's is to maintain that growth. Thirdly is Wes. So Wes is initially hired as our content writer to help specifically with content. He's also a Framer expert, meaning that he actually helps us with a ton of different things, whether it be with customers, building landing pages for us. Essentially, he's our in-house Framer developer who can help on a range of Framer-specific tasks, which in this case, because it's a Framer-led business, is pretty important. Fourthly, we've got Gus, who's our product designer. He floats. He's essentially the designer on the team, the visual one, who will help us on product stuff, so building the UI, UX, and also doing some more graphical stuff as well recently. Next, we have Isaac, who's our lead developer. So Framer Forms, Superfields, all our sort of products. The kind of the developer behind that, the person who's building the actual plugins and writing the code, is usually Isaac. Then we've got Monique, who's our support ninja, aka just customer service rep. So you'll often see her just helping out with the community and helping our customers and audience just get stuff done. And then next we've got Grace, who kind of sits in that storytelling team, who edits videos. So she's probably editing this one now. Hello, Grace. And yeah, essentially her role is to just make sure our content goes out in a really high quality way. Then we also have a second dev on the team who's Tom. Now, Tom's a good one because he is obviously developing some of our products, but he also does a lot of minuscule tasks as well, whether it be helping set up product analytics, try to do random tasks on the team that's a little bit more technical. So if you think about it, we've got Isaac, who is really just on the code and in Framer all the time building, and then Tom kind of floats between helping Isaac on certain products and then also helping us just build systems and processes throughout the rest of the team. And then, of course, we've got Potato, who's just a dog and doesn't really do too much, but he's definitely the team mascot. So there's a few different roles that we've actually hired for in the past, but didn't end up working, and I actually thought it would be valuable to put them in here. Now, I'll preface this by saying I think these roles do work, just not at the stage that we were hiring them for. Or maybe they just need to be positioned in a different way. So the first one was a social media manager, and I believe we tried to do this probably close to a year ago now. And the problem that we were starting to see within this role is that just we weren't ready for it. To be honest, we had products going out, but there was a lot of problems that the products were having, and we were still trying to hold on to that growth. We're going through this growth period, and okay, we need to hire a team, and we need to get people involved so we can kind of not burn ourselves out because it was so much work. And we're okay, we need to hire someone for social media, which makes sense because that's how we're getting a lot of people onto our products. But the problem is we didn't have the systems and processes in place for that person to really thrive. So there was a lot of just messiness and not a lot of readiness for that person to come in and actually create impact. They just physically couldn't. So I think an alternate version of this role that we would probably consider now is less of a social media manager, because that, again, is just very social media driven. It's let's create content, let's create posts, things like that. But someone who can just support on marketing and design and be that powerhouse of both and can support the systems and processes and plan we already have in place for marketing and just help elevate that. So second is a creative director, and we actually tried to implement this just before I went away for 3 months on a Europe trip, because I was going to like take a back seat essentially. And until this stage, we were kind of just like relying on me to like approve everything from a design front, which, you know, essentially I was playing that role as creative director as well as CEO. So there was kind of like this, like during Q1 of 2024, we had 3 specific sort of like things we wanted to do. And one of those 3 specific things was to reduce Ryan. Like that was our objective, reduce Ryan. And the idea was we wanted Insert Frame to kind of have its own legs, right? And because the roadblock was me all the time, because I'm the one filming the content, I've got the face behind the brand, and that's okay to a certain degree. And that is the thing that kind of gave us that initial sort of like value, right? Because I could be there, I could put my time into it. But that also becomes a roadblock, because it means that everything that goes out has to either like be done by me or needs approval by me. And it just creates this like feedback loops that's very, very slow and very, very blocked. So the idea of bringing in a creative director was actually having the opportunity for me to step away from that creative work and go, okay, I'll let someone else who's really great at it and really experienced kind of push that. Now, the problem we had with this role, and it was kind of like a hybrid sort of like freelance role for this person, is that we were just moving too quick. Like we as a team move extremely quick. Like we're like, okay, let's do this. Here's the plan. Let's go do it, right? So that by the time someone was even trying to come in and give feedback on the design, they had to catch up on what was going on. And because we were moving too quick, it just didn't really work. And I think that was a key problem for this role. But I think what's also happened, and again, looking forward and going, okay, if we had to do this role in the future, I think it would be just a more of a senior designer that can take a little bit more of a leadership role. Doesn't necessarily have to be a creative director. It needs to be someone who is involved and actively involved in that work, not just a body who kind of sits off to the side and then going, okay, you know, we need feedback now, and they try to come in because they have to do a lot of catch up. So someone who has the clarity and understanding of all the projects that we're doing is really, really important for this. And then lastly, a graphic designer. We were doing a bunch of different like client work and just had a bunch of different things that we thought we would need a designer on. The problem with this is that it wasn't consistent enough. And often what we were finding is like there's always design stuff that needs to be done. But to be honest, like we have so many different templates and good creative people on the team that we could kind of get it done. And we didn't need like a dedicated graphic designer for that role. And I still think it's the same today. Like we need design-led people on the team who can design, but I don't think that can be their sole role, because I think that's just, it's just adding another person to that flow when it should just be one person, which again is really hard to hire for because you're trying to find people who have skill sets in multiple things and try to grow them rather than someone who's really good at one thing. So a couple of quick tips for building your future Frame Adventure team and some of the big things that I think are really important when it comes to hiring and attracting the right people. So number one is find people who drive your North Star. Now, our team, if you look at the kind of structure that we have, about half of them were already kind of familiar with Framer. And I think it was one of the biggest hiring challenges for us was going, okay, how do we find people that are local, consistent, can communicate well, but also know Framer? Because it's that niche within a niche within a niche, right? And that's a really hard challenge to solve for. So we were very lucky when we found like Wes and Isaac, for example. Wes, who is in Australia, different state, so a little bit away, but still in the same sort of like time zone as us, who was like a gun at Framer, right? Like he already kind of understood it. So that was a bit of I think it was just good timing. And like Wes was already following our content, so he was kind of already aware of what we're doing. Same with Isaac, who's in the US. He was kind of following our content already and already aware of it. And these people already understood the vision, or even like for people who didn't, like Georgia, or Gus, or Monique, who we essentially like taught Framer to and kind of brought them into our world. We had a very clear North Star, which was to build the Framerverse, right? An ecosystem of products and education for Framer, something everyone across the team knows. So having that very clear and distinctive mission or vision or North Star was extremely important for attracting the right people. Now, the second thing I'd recommend is make a list of everything you can outsource. So if you're starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed, you want support, you want to figure out how you can start to delegate, honestly, the first practical way of doing this is just to make a list. Go, okay, what are the things that I can actually hand off to someone else? Now, I think a lot of this is realizing you can hand off actually a lot. It's just you might not feel comfortable doing that yet. And that's okay. That comes with time. But I think the first step is to kind of like find someone who you can kind of grow into that position where you then feel comfortable to hand that stuff off. So a few examples here, social posts, how can you outsource that? Your accounting, which again, for a non-data person, love that. Customer support. Our customer support used to be like crap. It just used to be overwhelmed. It used to be me trying to doing it. I didn't really enjoy it. So it got kind of neglected. Like it wasn't a good experience. But when we brought other people on to solve that for us and people who really cared and loved working with other people, that's when it actually started to become good. even like your scheduling, or even just like design work, the design tasks, you can find freelancers and contractors to actually help you out with that. Which brings me to my next point, right? Which is to start with part-time contractors. You don't have to hire someone full-time or even part-time as like an employee. You can actually hire these people as contractors. It's a lot more flexible. And this is what we did. And you still do actually for a lot of the people we initially hire. We go, okay, we can hire you for 8 weeks. And then we're going to reassess and we're going to see if it's a good fit for you and a good fit for us. Which gives an opportunity for both parties to go, you know what? I like working with you guys or I don't. And that's totally fine if they don't. And it gives you an opportunity as an employer to go, okay, I like working with this person or I don't. So you're not locking yourself in for a long period of time. So you don't have to think as hiring as this big scary thing where you have to drop $80,000 a year on a specific person and you don't even make that right now. When you break it down, it can actually feel a lot more affordable. So that'd be my big advice there. And yeah, just overall with hiring, I think just like try to hire just good people. I think finding talented people is like one thing, but most importantly, if they don't fit within the culture, if they're not going to be a good part of the team, they're not worth it, no matter